Right, okay, so I'm going to go through the tools, but before we do that, I'm going to explain to you about health and safety. Obviously, you've got to make sure the scaffolding's out, you've got a hoist, the whole area, you've done the risk assessment, you've done the method statement, and you've deemed the workplace is safe for yourself and your operators. So that's the first thing you've got to do. So onto tools. Here we've got a drill with a star fixing piece in the actual end. We need this end piece for the specialist screws that are driven in. So need one of these. Obviously we're going to need a tape measure so we can measure exactly the span of the rafters. We will also need an Allen key to fix the screws to the roof rails. We will also need a spanner to adjust the distance between the brackets and the rails. And the screws which come are 80mm long, they are 6mm screws with the star fixing head. That's why you need this, so it can drive that in. Right, so this is the bracket. As you can see, it's bolted on the end into this end here, but it can be taken out into this one or this one depending on the adjustment that you need to fix to the roof. So we're now going to demonstrate the installation on the roof. We've now lifted the top tile up to give us space. We've located that there is a rafter here, so then we've located the bracket, and now we've inserted the 6mm screw. Now this screw is 80mm long, so therefore it won't protrude through the underside. So we simply drive this in, so it's nice and tight. We've already put one in above, so there's 2 screws into this rafter which will hold it firm and secure. So we now pull this down over the top so the tile is into position. You also will probably have to take 4mm out of the bottom of the tile at this point here, just so that this tile sits down neatly in this area here. And this now leaves this available to fix the roof rail to, and then we move on to the next one. So we've now installed 4 of these brackets to the roof in accordance with the installation guide. That must be followed at all times so the roof remains watertight and the guarantee is firmly intact. We've now got to make sure that the guide for installation states that this rail cannot extend from this bracket more than 450mm from the edge. So we're just going to make that that is correct, and it is. And then we need to offer this rail here into this slot here, like so. Okay, so we insert the Allen key into the screw, and now we're going to drive it into position, like so, and we keep turning until it is tight and we can see that it's gone home. So we've now fixed the 2 rails to the 4 brackets, and just so you know, up here this is 450, it shouldn't be any longer than 450, clearly it is. So when we've put the 2 brackets in place and we've got them perpendicular, we would cut off this remaining surplus piece. This is the reverse side of a PV panel. These are the male and female connectors, and you must make sure that this is at the top of the panel before you put it onto the roof. So this is always the top of the panel with the right way up. Okay, so this is the bracket which will fix into position using the Allen key, 20mm to the end of the existing rail so that it doesn't blow up in any wind or severe gales. So we now put the first panel into position. So the bottom brackets on both left hand side, so these are the end clamps, as you can see, it's into place, and we just temporarily put the mid clamp into position here, and we leave that there before we introduce the second panel. Okay, so this is the last end clamp, which is put into position, and we're now making sure it is tightened up, like so. The remainder of this rail, if this was the end, we would leave 20mm at this point, and then we would cut it off with a hacksaw or an appropriate cutting device. We have the female cable from panel 1, and we have the male cable for panel 2. These two go together so they are linked in series, and you've got to make sure they are pushed together like so. So you've just seen us install 2 panels onto the rail system today. You can just add to this, so you can do many panels across the roof depending on the size of the array. These 2 that we've just fitted now, we would now hand over the cables to the electrician, who would then take them into the loft, and he would deal with all the DC and AC current at this point. So you must work with an electrician while you're doing this installation.